This is Jackson, and we're going to talk about one of the wines going into the next crunchy red fruit box. This is a wine coming from Austria, and Austria is producing some of the world's most dynamic, interesting, special wines right now. Especially when it comes to one of their native grape varieties, a white grape that goes by the name of Grüner Veltliner. Grüner Veltliner is awesome. It's like the clean, fresh, easy character of a Sauvignon Blanc or Riesling, but instead of the fruit set being tropical and limey and mango-y and very, very peachy like you might find in a Riesling, what's cool about the Grüner Veltliner is that you have a totally savory fruit set. And Grüner Veltliner is also one of those white grapes that actually ages well. We're drinking a wine with 8 years of bottle age, or if you're opening it a few months from now, we're getting into almost 9 years old for a white wine. That seems really old for a lot of white wines. There's just not many whites that can actually undergo 5 to 10 years of bottle age and still preserve their freshness and their electricity and their energy. But Grüner Veltliner is one of those grapes that can do it. So let's pop this wine and get it done. You can see this wine is bottled in a screw cap. Don't let anyone tell you that screw caps somehow mean that the wine's not good. A lot of people think it's only for cheap wines. It's not the case. There's many of the world's greatest wines, most age-worthy wines, whether that's reds or whites or dessert wines or even sparkling wines, are aged in alternative closures like crown caps or screw caps. Maybe it was the case 25, 30 years ago when a lot of the cheap wines at a grocery store were screw cap and nothing else was, but the technology's never been better. So screw caps are oftentimes used to cap really quality wines like this one. So let's taste this 2012 Schloss Maissau Grüner Veltliner and enjoy it together. Awesome nose. You'll also notice as you look at this wine, the color is very indicative of an aged white wine. It's starting to look more like dried hay, and that has that straw yellow color to it, not that really green kind of platinum color that you'll find in a very young white wine. This is a wine that's taken on a little bit of oxygen. It's been sitting there and the color's been darkening because white wines darken with age. What I love about Grüner Veltliner, as we were talking before, is all the savory character. Let's smell this wine and check it out. Very cool. When sommeliers talk about Grüner Veltliner, you'll often hear them talk about it with a few kind of key terms: rutabaga, watercress, arugula, root vegetable, lentil, white pepper. Those are all classic notes for Grüner Veltliner, and they're honestly all things that I find in this glass. Look for the savory here. This wine smells like fresh cut chopped vegetables. It smells like a little bit of something bitter like radicchio lettuce or arugula, like greens that have a little bit of palate bitterness in a pleasant way, right? That bitterness, and Grüner Veltliner definitely has it, that bitterness makes it really great for food pairing. So let's explore that bitterness a little bit more on the palate. Very cool. The first taste of this wine is a little bit of a shock, right? You're smelling this wine, and it certainly does have some fruit. It has some sort of lemon and peach fruit happening on the nose and on the palate, but it hits you with so much bitterness. It's almost like rolling a peach pit around in your mouth or biting into a fresh piece of asparagus. That's what makes this wine so dynamic and different, and that's what I love about it. The white pepper note really comes strongly through on the palate, and when we have a white wine with bottle age, you also get a light nuttiness, almost like a walnut or walnut shell comes through on the palate. It's that bitterness, it's that nuttiness, everything that this wine has going on for it. So as you take another sip of it, to really explore that bitterness, take your tongue and press it up to the roof of your mouth and kind of rub it back and forth on the roof of your mouth, and you'll actually sense that phenolic bitterness. That's something that certain grape varieties like Grüner Veltliner have in spades. This wine has a lot of phenolic character. It's bitter, it's refreshing, it's tart, it's earthy, all these things going on in one bottle of 8-year-old white wine. That's why I picked it for this box. There's none of this wine left. It's super rare, and I just think it's tremendous. So as you're opening this up and enjoying some music with it or whatever you're doing with it, think about all the cool things you could pair with this in terms of food. This to me is a perfect salad wine. If you're grilling fresh asparagus, if you're doing artichokes cooked in butter, this is the wine that is absolutely meant for that sort of thing. It's meant to accompany those vegetal dishes that make other wines cower in the corner because they're so hard to pair wines with. When you think about asparagus or artichoke, those dishes make other wines taste really bitter. Well, Grüner Veltliner, because it has that bitterness, it can actually match up with the vegetables in a dish and help kind of smooth out those characters in a dish. And so I really highly recommend it for food pairing with any kind of grilled vegetables or really anything you want to do. It's a very flexible wine. So I hope you enjoy this 2012 Schloss Maissau Grüner Veltliner, and I hope if it's your first experience with Grüner Veltliner that it's a really pleasant one. It's a really cool wine. Cheers.